Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt Berger and we're talking 13 must-have tools for working on dirt bikes. Dirt bikes are put together with nuts and bolts, and the best way to tackle that is our first item on the list, and that is a socket and ratchet set. This set is from Cobalt, but any brand will work. You just want to make sure you're getting a large range of sizes in the metrics, ranging from about 6 millimeters all the way up to about 30 or 32 millimeters for the larger axle nuts on your bike. Definitely want to make sure you get some different size ratchets and extensions, and you will be using these quite a bit when working on your bike. Number 2 on our list is a set of T-handles. I use these things all the time. They're some of my favorite tools here in the shop. I have an 8, 10, 12, and 14 millimeter one, along with a universal 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive where you can put any kind of socket on the end. You can just grab these right out of the toolbox. You don't have to worry about putting ratchet and extensions and sockets all together. So these things are super quick, they're easy to use, and you can really get a good feel for how tight you're making the bolt. Number 3 is a set of these open and box wrenches. You're going to be using these a ton when working on your bikes. There's a lot of nuts and bolts that are recessed or in areas where you can't get a socket and ratchet up in there. What's really nice about the set that I have is they're actually ratcheting here on the end, so you can get these in areas where you can't get a full rotation of the wrench. Definitely get yourself a set ranging from about 8 millimeters all the way up to about 19 millimeters. You want to have a good range to cover all the nuts and bolts on your bike. Number 4 is a set of nut drivers. I actually use these things a lot more than I thought I would. They're basically like a T-handle just with a screwdriver style end. You can't get a lot of torque, but what I use them for the best is starting bolts on the bike and making sure I don't cross thread. Sometimes the T-handles are too long, or a ratchet you kind of can get sideways. These nut drivers can ensure that you're really getting straight on into the threads and you're not going to cross thread anything. If you're interested in any of the tools you see in this video, they are all going to be linked down in my description below. Up next on the list, number 5 is a torque wrench. If you guys do not have a torque wrench, I would highly recommend picking one of these things up. There's a lot of different nuts and bolts for both performance and safety reasons that need to be torqued to your manufacturer's specifications. For example, anything going on inside the motor, your axle nuts, your swing arm nuts, the triple clamps where your forks go into, all that stuff is super important to get torque to spec. The torque wrenches that I use are actually from Pittsburgh, from Harbor Freight. These are a very inexpensive option. I've done a bunch of research and these things are actually a lot more accurate than people think. So I've got a 3/8, a 1/2 inch, and a 1/4 inch drive. Number 6, pliers. You always gotta have some pliers in your shop, whether you're trying to grab a hold of something, twist something, bend something. You got cotter pins, circlips, all kinds of stuff. I really like to resort to a pair of channel locks and a pair of needle nose. Similar to the pliers, number 7 on our list is a pair of Sidecutters. This is a really nice pair from Klein Tools. Highly recommend picking a set of these up. Zip ties, wires, plastic, you name it. This thing comes in handy and is one of the most used tools here in the shop. Real quick, I just wanted to let you guys know we are giving away the CR250 build that I just finished up. You can follow the link down in my description to purchase entries to get entered to win this bike. Let's jump right back into the video. A very common tool that pretty much everybody has is number 8, screwdrivers. You guys probably have a million of these things laying around, but what I wanted to show you guys is this little 6-in-1 screwdriver. It's actually fairly inexpensive, and this thing I use all the time. You can pull it apart. It's got a small and large Phillips and flathead bit on both sides that you can flip around and configure however you like. It's super nice to not have to grab like 5 different screwdrivers when working on something. Tool number 9 is a spring puller. This is a very cheap and just simple tool. A lot of times exhaust springs, brake springs are tucked up in an area where it's hard to get a pair of pliers. You're pulling down, you can't get it, it slips off. This little tool gets up in there, it gets you a really good amount of leverage pulling down, and you can get that spring put exactly where you need it. Number 10 on our list are the battery-powered impact drivers. This is a larger 1/2 inch one, and this is a universal 3/8 drive one. These are Ryobi brand, but you can honestly use any brand that you either already have. Doesn't really matter. These things are awesome. A huge time saver here in the shop for putting on and taking off bolts on bikes. Now, when you're putting stuff back on, you definitely do want to be very careful that you don't ugga-dugga these things down, strip anything out. So I only use these really for taking nuts and bolts off the bike. Number 11 is a hand impact driver. This is the kind of tool that you're not going to be using all the time, but you're going to be glad you have it in your toolbox when you need it. A lot of times there are stripped Phillips head bolts on your dirt bike, and this is the tool you need to get it out. And what it does is you hit the top of this with a hammer while applying some rotational force, and it creates an impact in rotation to that screw to go ahead and get it out. This thing has saved me so many times, and it's not that expensive. Next time you need to use it, you're gonna be glad you've got it. Number 12, hammers and mallets. You gotta have them in the shop. Now, you gotta be very careful with metal hammers on dirt bikes. You can do a lot of damage. I primarily use a rubber mallet. Anytime I need to hit something, knock one of the axles off, whatever it may be, I use this rubber mallet quite a bit, and there are very few times that I need to use a metal hammer. But you definitely wanna have them here in the shop just in case you need it. Tool number 13 on our list of must-haves for working on dirt bikes is a spoke wrench. I know spoke maintenance and checking your spokes is something that gets looked over a lot of times when you're doing your routine maintenance, but it's something that you wanna make sure you're doing for sure. And the best way to do that is with a specific spoke wrench. You can either get a size that is right for your bike, or you can get these universal ones that have all kinds of different sizes. These ones are definitely my favorite. I know I couldn't cover everything, so if there are some favorite tools that you use, please comment down below. I'd love to see what those are. And if you guys want to see some videos of me working on bikes and using these tools in action, make sure you guys click on one of these videos right here.